Hello, and welcome back for another edition of the AI Insiders podcast, the flagship podcast of AI insiders, AI outsiders, and everyone in between. Because it's going to take all kinds of people here to help surf this powerful new technological wave. It's not just coming, but in many ways, it's already here, at least if you judge by my LinkedIn feed, and it seems to be picking up speed. Hi, I'm Adam Russell. I'm the director of University of Southern California's Information Sciences Institute and the AI division here. And I'm your host for AI Insiders, where our unofficial motto is, if you're not confused, you're not thinking clearly. And that's why I'm turning in part to the AI Insiders for now to help better understand what's going on, or at least what they think is going on, why they're in this field, how they got here, what they're hoping for, what they worry about, and generally ask questions that I'm finding actually many of us are kind of thinking about people working in AI. I mean, is there a good AI joke? But I'm not embarrassed to keep asking them. So I depend on good humans to be willing to come on the show to provide the kind of insight you won't get if you just focus on the tech, even with all its amazing capability, because I think the people are what make it amazing, and I think you will too. So with that, I'm happy to introduce my guest today, Negar Mokhberian. She's a research assistant at Information Sciences Institute and a PhD candidate, which really takes me back. There was a time when I could just call myself that. And I'm really pleased to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on, Negar.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
Hey, so we'll touch on a lot of stuff that you do here. I'm particularly excited to have PhD candidates on though, because I mean, you really are looking at a future of like unimaginable possibility, especially in this space. But that's your future. I want to take you to your past very briefly. I want to take you back in time. And one thing you could do a favor for me is I want to sit there and watch you talk to younger Negar, 10, 12 years old, whatever. And I want to watch you explain to her what you're doing today in AI and why.
Well, if I want to explain my work today to the 12-year-old version of myself, I would need to start from making sure that she knows what is subjectivity, because that's really relevant to what I do. I think it wouldn't be a very difficult task because during a 12-year-old life, people get exposed to many scenarios when there is no one way to answer a question. It could be if you find a tweet offensive or not, or how does the food taste to you, or if you find something funny or not.
Okay, so 12-year-old Negar understands subjectivity. What does it have to do with the AI you're doing now?
Yeah, so I work on developing machine learning models that can capture and understand multiple perspectives at the same time. And when we ask these models to predict labels for us for a given subjective task, they can account the subjectivity and multiple perspectives and produce multiple labels for us.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, sure. So the tasks that I have been focusing on for my prediction tasks have been including detecting toxicity in tweets and also detecting if a given text is ironic or not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so many previous traditional machine learning approaches were just aggregating all the labels into one final majority vote, for example. But instead of doing that, in my research, I try to develop models that can take into account many perspectives at the same time.
Okay. This is awesome. If you are wildly successful and you're able to produce, AI, again, understanding that's a very generous term, AI that can take into account different perspectives, how does that impact the world? Like, how does the world end up being better because of that from your perspective? What problems would it solve, and or what kind of future would it usher in?
Yeah, I think one bigger goal that could be achieved is that understanding the effect of the AI tools that we are using on different people. So if an AI tool is able to understand different perceptions that human can get using multi-opinion models, we are able to better understand how our models are affecting different people differently. So is it benefiting everyone? Is it not benefiting everyone? Who are the people that are getting disadvantaged by the models that we are releasing? I'm not the first person that has paid attention to how the models we're developing sometimes it's unfair to some people because it simply ignores some of the personal traits merely because they have been trained mostly on aggregated data that we have, in which many of the small variations are removed because they have been considered as noise. But it's important to consider every little variation that comes from humans because there might be a good reason for it.
Yeah. No, that's well said. What looks like noise to someone outside, on the inside, that noise might be really meaningful and it's significant, right? Key to lived experience. In the work you've been doing, what have you found to be the most sort of surprising findings for you?
I think generally in generative AIs that we see today, and more specifically when working with LLMs, something counterintuitive to me has been that they don't know when they don't know.
Hmm.
So if you ask a question that they truly don't know the answer, usually they just give some sort of answer to you, which is either incorrect or some sort of hallucination. Instead of saying that, yeah, you know what, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the answer to this question. Or even if the question is subjective and if you ask multiple people, you would get different answers. The LLMs with which we've worked with, they give you one of those answers and they don't inform you that this is somewhat subjective. And if you were asking someone different, you may have received a different answer. So they don't really acknowledge the uncertainty that there is. It could be either because they simply don't know a factual or objective question, they don't know the answer to that, or it could be that the question we're asking is too subjective and still they don't acknowledge that the information or the answer they're giving is not necessarily the one true answer.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I love the idea of a large language model saying it depends, right? It depends on who you ask, or it depends on how you look at it. And I think, Stuart Russell has argued that that's the way to make safe AI is you want AI that in fact embraces uncertainty. So it constantly asks, is this what you mean? Is this what you want me to do? Are you sure? So yeah, that's well taken. I think a point well taken. If AI didn't exist, what would you be doing?
Oh, great question. There are different scenarios that might have happened. One of them is that I would have become something like a ranger at a national park, maybe. It's just because I really enjoy visiting national parks, and it would be cool to spend more time than just visiting, basically working there for many days and hours to really get to know all the details and all the species that are living there and all the plants and everything, and also helping the national park in a way by just working there.
With AI, it is what we call team sport. It's going to take lots of different people. I don't need to tell you that because you're interested in their perspectives. But when you come to a team to help, I'm just curious, what do you think is kind of your I call it superpower, or maybe it's a secret power. What superpower do you think you bring to the team?
I think something that all the team members need to bring to the teamwork is showing continuous interest and excitement and dedication to the work that is being done. So the moment that one of the members starts to think that this problem is not interesting anymore and it's not worth my time anymore, that's the moment that the team falls off. So all the members, if they continue showing interest and belief in the goal of the teamwork, that usually makes the team to be able to go on for a very long time.
And do you think you're able to sort of help people keep interest in problems?
I try, because this has been something I have been learning from my own advisor and other US faculty. I have been observing this in their mentorship behavior, and I have not been taking it for granted. That has been a life lesson to me.
That's really useful. Um, Understanding the role of leadership in AI and teams. We could spend a lot of time there because I'm really interested in that stuff as a social scientist. But what do your parents and friends think about what you're doing in AI? Do they understand what you're doing?
Good question. It's sometimes difficult to explain to people who are not in the field what I'm doing as a researcher, because what we do is usually we find the gaps that are connecting different modules in the world of AI or machine learning. And sometimes those gaps are very specific, very, very specific, that are considering some parameters of a very specific models that works with a very specific data. So that sometimes makes it difficult to generally explain to people. So sometimes my parents are like, "Oh, please fix this app on my phone or my computer," and they think that's what I do. And always I'm like, "No, that's not my job. That's not what I do at my PhD studies."
If you need me to write something in Python, I can do that, but I don't understand your your apps either. That's funny. Um, do you have them ask you questions about sort of the future of AI? I mean, right now there's a lot of discussion, right, about where AI is going. Do you find people turning to you to sort of help me understand? Should I be terrified or excited?
Yeah, that sometimes happen. And sometimes I am the person who asks the question from others
I know it's gonna.
because it's a really new big thing and we are all figuring it out together.
Yeah, ideally. What are you most worried about with AI?
Oh, something I have been really thinking about is that what will happen to software engineer jobs or maybe the front end development jobs? Because AI is showing to be very helpful in giving us some code that can produce some sort of websites for us. And they do a pretty good job. And we can say that they are saving a lot of time in software development and front end development. So I wonder what policy making people are thinking of about the future of some of these kind of jobs.
If we, let's say we had an AI that became sentient, or at least appeared to be sentient, and it was doing amazing things, but just didn't seem to understand humans, and you had the opportunity to give it an artifact of some sort, a movie, a book, a poem, something that you think captures the paradoxical contrarian nature of our species, right? As a way of like, here, ingest this and you'll understand a little bit more about humans. Now, noting it's hypothetical because AI is not sentient. Also, it's probably already consumed that thing in its training data. But what I'm really trying to elicit is, what do you think captures, yeah, your perspective on some key aspect of humanity?
Okay, to answer that, something that comes to my mind based on where I'm from is many of the old Iranian poems, because we do have like a old history of literature, and there have been many books that are trying to, some of them are trying to focus on some moral aspects and how in different situation of life we can do the moral thing and
Mhm.
what's the wrong thing to do and what's the right thing to do. I think I would have included that because I believe they are not already included. So
That's
I
fair.
would have just add that.
That's great. Yeah, no, actually, that's boy, you really knocked that answer out of the park. Not only, um, what do you think is the most misunderstood concept in AI today?
I think some people think that AI actually has good logic and can give us logical answers. So that's not really the case. An easy example is when it comes to mathematics. They're not really great at that. So we need to remember that these models are not so logical yet, and we cannot expect them to understand a sequence of events and decide what is the best next action after a certain scenario, or even things such as solving mathematical questions. They're not really great at those things yet.
Mhm. Okay, so don't mistake their fluency for logic.
Yes, exactly.
Fair. You are a young person. I'm allowed to say that officially as an old person. You are a young person. That leads me to two questions. The first is, what advice would you have for someone who's younger than you, who's interested in getting into AI, as it were?
My advice would be to make sure you're learning the mathematics behind these models, because it's really easy to get stuck at the surface level, because there are many packages that facilitate the use of so many awesome models that are out there. So it's easy to just understand those models at the surface. I would suggest that they take the extra effort to understand the mathematics and the design of those models.
Gotcha. And again, as noted, you are a young person. As a young person, how do you stay on top of everything? Or maybe you don't, but how do you feel like you keep up with all the developments in your field? They're going to be, probably relevant for what you in fact do over the next 5 years.
That's a great question and a real challenge, honestly.
Mm,
It's really difficult, but I have found out something that helps is talking to many people that are doing different kinds of jobs. So the conversation can happen in conferences or by attending someone's presentation or talk and asking questions after their presentation. I think that's something that helps understand and keep up with the new information.
would you rather see AI surpass humans in creativity or empathy?
I think I would rather to see more empathy because it's a good thing. Why not? But also in creativity, they might be able to become better than human in some aspects, only because those models are able to see a lot of information, which could be more than the amount a human can see during their lifetime.
Right. Yeah, no, and the recombinations that they're capable of. And that's one of those areas where in creativity, hallucinations aren't always bad, right? The sort of mutations that can occur. Last would you rather question, because we are running out of time, but just curious here. Would you rather have AI generate all pop music going forward or create all new fashion trends?
Oh my God,
No,
that's difficult.
neither of those are very appealing, I can tell, right? But you got to choose.
I guess the fashion, because I'm happy with the all the fashion trends that have already been out there. So I'm okay if the AI keeps generating new trends based on those.
Yeah, I like it. So the training data on the fashion you're okay with. Fair. So Nagar, I think we're running out of time. But I want to thank you again for taking the time to come on the show, answer what I'm sure are just completely insane questions, but they're questions I think that are one, confirm to me that you're human, and two, reveal again, this is why I have this podcast, is because I get to know people, my colleagues at ISI, all the way from established faculty to those who will, I mean, one day go on to have incredible impact on the world like yourself. And so getting to know you really does genuinely increase my optimism about the next 5 to 10 years in this space. So if for no other reason than that, thank you very much. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and doing whatever I can to, to help you to go out and make that impact.
Thanks a lot for having me. It's my pleasure.
Okay. If you enjoy these short podcasts, please do what only you can do. Rate us, score us, evaluate us, grade us, subscribe, spread the word, send us feedback. We're getting some feedback on the podcast. It's great. Offer up further insane, brave, interesting, prodding questions. And of course, just keep listening and I hope learning as I did today on the podcast. Thank you. And join us, please, again for another episode of AI Insiders, where we'll keep exploring, learning, humanizing AI to help navigate our way through this weird, weird world, trying to do what humans do best when they face these kinds of challenges, working together as if all our lives depend on each other, because they do. So for now, for the future, fight on.